in a normal life, your marriage is the core of everything. A happy marriage produces happy people, happy children. And I just don't think she spent a lot of time on that. I mean, she really dislikes her husband. Super obvious. I'm not just saying that to be catty. I feel compassion for her, but her hostility toward the guy is unbelievable.
I know. I mean, because when you're thinking victims of this awful world, you think of Obama and how terrible we've all been to her. This woman is a one-woman destitution derby. Every time we check in on her at her podcast, she is feeling sorry.
She's feeling sorry for herself at the podcast. On live television, Michelle Obama just had the political equivalent of a high-end handbag ripped to pieces. And the scissors were in the hands of Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson. This was no kind of criticism. With more flames, it was a full-fledged roast. Her flawless appearance crumbled. With side-eye accuracy, the queen of motivational sound bites was overthrown. She wasn't just called out by Carlson and Kelly. They pulled her through all of her sanctimonious moments, PR stunts, and contradicting actions. Spoiler alert, Michelle is now a joke with Secret Service clearance if you thought she was invincible.
About him, for
how
sure,
long have we known each other?
2007.
I can't even think of one negative comment you've ever made about Susie. I almost never say negative things about her. She is criticizing Barack Obama, this country. She never has a positive word to say about any.
Michelle Obama once said that being First Lady was quite difficult. Do you recall that? Indeed, because only a select few could afford a chef, a private plane, and an endless pantsuit budget. Michelle was likely sobbing over the incorrect shade of purple in the East Wing, while the majority of Americans were attempting to figure out how to stretch a $12 shopping purchase over 5 meals.
Latest example was when she went on this other guy's podcast, Jay Shetty. She goes and sits down with him, and he asks her, what are you afraid of? And she starts off saying, well, it's not, my fears aren't for me. You know, I think about the streets. My fears aren't for me.
Well, in this current climate, for me, it's, what's happening to immigrants.
I mean, I travel in a 4-car motorcade. After all, I'm Michelle Obama.
It's not that her elegance, charm, and inspirational posters masquerading as memoirs aren't appreciated. Simply put, it seems a bit different to hear her characterize life as a struggle from the sun-drenched balcony of her multi-million-dollar Martha's Vineyard mansion. The majority of Americans would be happy to join if this were tyranny.
Response is, it feels so antique. It feels so 2017. It's like literally nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. All of those talking points, people of color under attack, they're not. They're coming here by the million because this is the safest country for everybody, no matter what your color is, or it was in any case. So like that's just so old-fashioned. I mean, it's really like you expect her to say, let me fax you my thoughts on us. Because it's just like she's so out of...
A script wasn't even necessary for Tucker Carlson. When Michelle performed her iconic, relatable, but unremarkable performance, he just blinked in shock. My marriage is difficult overall. Marriage is difficult, particularly when you're juggling inspiring speeches and brunch with an 8-figure Netflix contract. Like the doubtful aunt at Thanksgiving dinner, Megyn Kelly added. I wonder if this is what struggle looks like now. A designer jacket costing more than most people's rent, an Ivy League CV, and a Spotify contract. The brand is the couple's ambition. Oh, it's like a Pinterest board that Michelle and Barack put up. Their marriage is the political counterpart of a Hallmark film with a dubious budget, complete with staged photo shoots and TED speeches about empathy. Michelle is correct, however, when she argues that their relationship requires effort. Maintaining the illusion that many stylists, publicists, and social media managers are just like us requires a lot of work.
Of course, leads me to Michelle Obama. You're back, and she's given us a whole new realm of comments, Glenn, just for you, because she's still...
I told staff I only started watching this podcast religiously because of the times I've been on your show, and you've talked about it by yourself with me, so I'm very ready to talk to Michelle Obama.
Oh, good. She's still just as bitter as ever. There's such a great new spin of complaints here. Here's one from her most recent episode, which still on YouTube, she's like 200,000 subscribers. It's really amazing that now she's been doing this for how many episodes? She's been literally on every podcast of the left wing promoting it, and that's still all she's managed to get.
What would a contemporary political figure be without 300 pages of nebulous tales modest boasts, and calculated vulnerability. That brings us to the topic of the book. It wasn't a novel about becoming. It was the launch of a brand. You had been pitched a lifestyle, smoothie recipe, podcast, and maybe a scented candle called Hope and Cardio by the time you were halfway through. And keep in mind the massive media rollout, Oprah interviews, and stadium tours, because nothing conveys how difficult it is to having too many alternatives in life, like charging stadium-level ticket costs. People, Michelle's suffering is genuine. Very costly, incredibly well-lit, and extremely adept at marketing.
She goes, and then you're like, why? What's going to happen to her girls if they're not recognizable? And she goes on a diatribe about the arrests that we're making of immigrants, and that now we all have to live in fear, people of color, because it's a racist Republican Party that's running America now, that people of color, I guess, have to live in fear because we're all a bunch of racists who made her a billionaire, elected her husband president twice. But we're so racist, you see, we could just grab any random person of color in the street and...
Michelle's whole mood has changed from when they go low. We get high to when they go low. I sell another book, and Tucker couldn't help but notice this. Megyn Kelly was nearly pulsing with sarcasm as she enumerated Michelle's struggles, which reportedly include the agony of public recognition, the stress of running a 14-year public relations campaign, and the anguish of raising girls in the White House, with staff. The whole post-W White House globe dominance trip is another. Documentaries, streaming specials, and podcasts. We would all be broke if Michelle had a currency, which she would name the inspiration coin. You can hear the collective groan of a public that only wanted one first lady who didn't want to be Oprah whenever she announces a new project. It's not that her accomplishment is resented.
The second thing is that, like, we always beat up on, rich white ladies because they're the most disruptive force in America, but that's unfair. It's not about color. There's something about the people with the most in our tree that's really poisonous. They're the unhappiest, they're the most restless, they're the most self-involved. They're the least generous, they're the most annoying. And it's a gender thing, it's men too. But there's something about America at this moment where the unhappy people are also the most privileged. And I think it does tell you something deep about accumulating money or worshiping money. It doesn't fill the empty space at all. It does. Larry Fink is a miserable person in life despite having billions of dollars. And of course, personally, and I do too, a lot of deeply unhappy billionaires, way more unhappy than the guy fixing your...
It's the constant attempt to portray everything as an uphill fight when, from the outside, it seems to be a smooth escalator ride past the prestigious institutions, private schools, publisher bidding wars, and wealthy speaking engagements. It's not difficult. That's a monthly extra membership to success. Naturally, Michelle's supporters claim that she is encouraging women and making positive use of her position. Indeed, it is commendable that she is advocating for fitness, health, and education. However, there is a little mismatch when she stands up and tells Americans that marriage and being famous are difficult. Whether to risk eating sushi at a petrol station is the toughest choice the ordinary American has to make on a Tuesday. Michelle is debating whether to shoot her next documentary in Hawaii or Tuscany. Michelle's comments about never feeling good enough almost caused Megyn Kelly to short circuit. What precisely is it good enough for? The Academy Awards, the White House, and the Ivy League. Self-doubt eventually sounds like boasting in a brighter light.
There is, it's a theological principle that I think is worth saying out loud. Worshipping money, worshipping power, organizing yourself so you get more of both does not give you peace or happiness. In fact, it seems to produce the opposite. People like Michelle Obama, who's drowning in Lake Me. I mean, Michelle Obama is literally going down for the third time into this pool of self-involvement, and you don't think she's going to come up again. Like, she's dying of affluence, privilege, and self-obsession, obviously.
Everything she says.
Not to mention her fight against junk food in schools. Michelle, the broccoli whisperer, the lunchroom legislator, and the kale queen. Despite her good intentions, middle school students across were secretly planning her demise after being forced to eat turkey wraps that resembled crime scenes and dry carrot sticks. A cafeteria employee still wakes up in the middle of the night, tormented by government meal requirements and quinoa recipes. Michelle was able to destroy pizza for a generation of children, Tucker joked. Additionally, Megyn reminded viewers that it is the height of irony to encourage millions of children to eat healthily when your own chef cooks sea bass with lemon aioli. Authenticity is a recurrent subject for Michelle. A glam squad, media team, and interviews in rooms with better lighting than a Marvel movie set are the epitome of authenticity.
Many people with access to a camera or a microphone who are not exactly dazzled by Michelle Obama. I don't care that she's not going to the inauguration. I'd care whether she is or isn't in the same house as her husband. I don't care what she says in advocacy in it one way or the other. I've never got the Michelle Obama thing. Does anyone care that she's not going to be there when all eyes are on Trump and his wife?
I kind of like it. I'm gonna lie. I'm a little beyond not caring. I'm like, good. Don't come. You know, seriously, you're out there endorsing that he's a misogynist, Hitler-esque type. Because stay home. No one will see you. You're right.
Yeah.
We shouldn't come. I'm glad you skipped the Carter feud so you wouldn't have to sit next to him. Maybe. We don't know why. I don't mind not.
She's genuine, okay? Real calm, real thoughtful, and real conscious of the company she's promoting. The type of genuineness that works well for a marketing effort and yet allows for a book sequel. The chef's kiss, even her "I hate politics" comment. It's usually spoken in a tone akin to someone receiving an award with reluctance. As she collects Emmys, book agreements, and honorary degrees like Pokemon cards, she suggests, "Oh, I didn't ask for this." And the discussion of voters who may not be able to forgive completely legendary levels of selective amnesia. It is evident that the millions of people who did not vote in Michelle's favor did more than just disagree. They deeply hurt her. Here's additional evidence that political debate has turned into a reality TV reunion special.
They tell you you can order anything, and they listen very carefully because everybody listens to every word that the president says. And I used to tell Rock, don't say you want something, because then we'll have like thousands of it, you know, and then we're paying for it. So if
I know, it's a shock.
If he said he liked some rare fish, just happened to say this is delicious, and then we get the bill at the end of the month, and it's like, you flew fish in from China? That's like, that fish wasn't that good.
Listen,
Like,
everybody.
don't say you like that fish. Yeah, a lot of people think, you know, and this is also was sort of an interesting thing. People would say that taxpayers are paying for that. And the truth is, yes, you know, you don't pay rent and you don't pay for staff, but everything, every dish, they would count the number of peanuts eaten and charge it back.
No.
So you get a bill at the end of, it's not a, we live in a White House, y'all. You know?
Imagine someone openly detesting politics as much as Michelle does, but somehow becoming the reluctant prom queen of progressives and appearing on every ballot vision board. Since running is the only activity on her bucket list that isn't associated with a Netflix special, Megyn proposed that she will ultimately complete it. He's prepared the moniker already, Tucker. Most likely something to do with motivational bumper stickers, elitism, and lush greens. People usually declare, "I don't want power," just before accepting it with a sneer and a disclaimer, as Michelle does. Michelle Obama isn't a villain in actuality. She is a product, an elegant, highly functional, mass-produced emblem of empowerment that has been thoughtfully designed to be both relevant and aspirational. And it works because Americans like a good narrative, particularly when it involves stadium lights, costume changes, and a healthy dose of modest boasting. However, even the finest brands eventually get overexposed. Every failure leads to a new product line, every struggle is subtly illuminated, and every message is flawlessly practiced. It becomes less inspirational and more like a soap opera with better handwriting throughout the day. Therefore, Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson weren't only making fun of Michelle when they took aim. Behind her, they were roasting the whole constructed apparatus. The concept that someone with every platform, access, and opportunity is nonetheless presented as the underdog, the weaponized empathy, and the carefully manicured fragility. And the roast really hits home there, because feigning oppression is the new luxury in the country of the affluent. Michelle had the poster, merchandise, and trademark filed, even though she may not have intended to be the face of performative battle. Since nothing symbolizes resilience like repackaging your adventure for $29.99 at Target, the good news is that she can always come back with another book or podcast lifestyle brand. She's a fascinating character to observe and criticize because of that conflict. Ultimately, Michelle's life isn't about suffering in the conventional sense. It involves running an empire, leaving a legacy, and marketing the triumphant tale. And that's a difficult job, particularly when your greatest challenges are juggling your next big transaction with managing public expectations. Her life may be difficult, but it's a difficult life that most of us can only imagine or maybe simply shake our heads at, wondering how broccoli came to represent aristocratic misery.